happy that you're joining us. It was 2 interesting days. Tomorrow we are talking more about gastronomy again, which is going to be interesting as well. I saw also that you just launched the first zero waste packaging, which was really exciting for me and is interesting because last year I was studying in Pollenzo at the Slow Food University, and we did a project for Ferrero, and they asked us if we can develop some plastic-free packaging for their, I think it was for their brioches. And
yes.
But this was very hard for us because we are no scientists. So it was very hard to develop something. That's why I'm so interested what you guys just developed. Super
yeah,
cool.
I mean, in general, perhaps on this, I will mention it shortly in the presentation. It's not going to be about that. But of course, we are also excited that it's out. It's always 1-2 years of development. We already did our retail packaging, which is these bars back in 2012, waste-free. And the couvertures, which are thicker materials, more complex. And I think the bottom line is if you want to do it today, you can. It's a complex process and you need real experts next to you because it involves product, the base foils, the production lines, the specs of the product. So it's a very specific process that you need engineers and experts for.
I think that's the key, that you really want to be like zero waste.
Yeah. You have to sit it out. You go through.
Okay, I think we can start with your presentation if you like.
Okay, so I'll start. I don't see you, the public, which is or anybody who's in the session, is a bit new to me, but I'm assuming we are on the same wavelength. And my presentation I called Phoenix from Ashes, why the hospitality industry should lead on climate. And when I say Phoenix from Ashes, perhaps I should for a moment, and we all acknowledge the fact that the hospitality industry is one of the industries currently most hit by Corona. We're seeing lots of customers that are really struggling economically. It's painful to see how much great enterprises, great chefs, great hotels are really suffering. And we're doing our best within our networks in the industry to support that and to encourage. And there is also a lot of innovation going on. Anyway, I said Phoenix from Ashes because there is quite some fire and there will be quite some ashes, and so Phoenix rises again. And I think in rising, the hospitality industry has a chance to redefine itself, and I think it can lead on climate, which will be one of the governing themes for the coming decades. And so if the hospitality industry starts stepping into this leadership, I think there will be a lot of benefits for the industry and of course for us as a society.
Totally.
I'll get to the takeaways up front and I'll repeat them in the back. So really my presentation is an inspiration talk of sorts. I will talk about original beans in the light of the bigger climate issue and in the light of what the hospitality industry, as we know it, can contribute to it. And really, the top line of it all is that what we eat matters so much more than we think. I'm not a researcher, but I read quite a lot of data and reports, and many of you are much more into the details. But the more you go into the facts and of the matter is that it matters so much and much more than we think. And I hope that hospitality can pick up on this in its ambition also to be political, to make a stance, to rise from the ashes, as I say. Hospitality has an amazing leverage to cultivate healthy eating habits. And I will give you the numbers in a sec. Our society has a chronic disease called obesity, and healthy eating habits are key. And hospitality can impact the drawdown of more than 30% of CO2 in the next decade. There is very fast levers that can work today and tomorrow. And I'll show you why this is so important. The term drawdown is important in terms of describing drawing down CO2 from the atmosphere, and it's the key climate measure. And hospitality can impact the drawdown of more than 30%. And then take original beans. I'll give you our example. If we can do it as a small enterprise, the industry can. You just have to move in that direction and set the ambition higher than you think you can reach. And hospitality should really lead on climate. So why can I speak about climate? Well, just quick background on myself. I'm an economist by training, and I come from a family, I'm the 7th generation of a family that's been pioneering sustainability really from the end of the 18th century. Foresters, explorers, forest managers, and one of my ancestors founded the Bund Naturschutz in Bayern and the first nature park. Anyway, so there's a DNA relation that I have.
I can see
the issues of sustainability, but really that path probably brought me to the UN, working for the UN for about 5 years. And I found myself in New York. This is New York. This is the UN building. And in fact, I didn't work in the UN building. I worked in the Chrysler building on the left side, this beautiful building. I had my offices there. And this was a watershed time and moment because some of you might remember 2005 was the first COP, the first international conference in Quebec in Canada on climate issues. And the thing, I was there, and the thing that is to me still striking is that everything we know today, we knew then. I mean, all the experts, not the public, which by now has given us the tools to work, each of us in our careers and in our businesses and our jobs to really work on climate. But the data, the expertise, the predictions, the models, everything was there. Hey, hi.
back again.
Back again. The last coffee sip. Yes, I just said that the experts at the UN in 2005 knew everything, and for myself, I decided then that really I had to take more massive action in my own career, and ultimately left the UN in 2008 and started up a company. And the challenge and the knowledge around that in 2005 is the same as today. You see this line, which is the ecological footprint from 1960s to 2030. And if you take the last slot, which is 2020 to 2030, then many of the scientists see this as the critical period in which we can still change this vector that's going up under business as usual, and will just forward the Earth overshoot day and the capacity of our planet, the planetary boundaries as we call them, and find a softer trajectory, which is here in green. But that takes drawing down 30%, reducing the carbon footprint globally by 30% in the next decade, which is big. Yeah. It's really big, and we have to lose our sleeps every day. But I show you why I'm so bullish on the hospitality industry. And just to explain this graph, it comes from one of the most important climate studies out today. It's called DRAWDOWN. There's a book published by Paula Hawken, one of the pioneer green entrepreneurs. And it's hundreds of researchers and huge data sets they put together to essentially make a cost-benefit map of the best strategies to reduce CO2 from the atmosphere to draw down these 30% in the next 10 years. And what you can see is the big slices, and I put them out to you because I want to focus on them. And the bottom line is all of them are hospitality related. So the biggest leverage on climate is something that's core to the hospitality industry. Take refrigeration, including air conditioning. Take wind turbines, which is, of course, green energy. I'll translate that back into our language. Then reduced food waste, plant-rich diet, essentially moving from meat to vegetarian and vegan. And then I included tropical forest because that's where my company and my work focuses on. But hospitality, particularly in coffee and chocolate, and some other products, has a big lever on this as well. If the purchasing power would go into slightly different choices. So what I'm saying is we have to reduce 30% in 10 years. The hospitality industry is key and core to this because the biggest lever for drawing down CO2 from the atmosphere are core to the business models of the hospitality industry. And of course, that's not all hospitality. It's the food industry in general, but hospitality is probably the one that has the fastest and most immediate impact. And so what we need to do in the hospitality industry is very simple to heal this sick system that feeds obesity, and then essentially by creating climate changing landscapes, unsustainable agriculture and food systems, and then leaving the poor to starve, and then making the other half of the population fat. We just have to turn this around. Healthy nutrition, climate restoration, healthy nutrition, climate restoration, and all of you work on these subjects, and I'll show you how we do it. So I'll take my example. I know it best. I'm not a researcher. I just know the cases that I know from the real world. We started Origin Beans in 2008 with a vision, very clear, of a world where together we regenerate what we consume. And our mission is together to taste the rare and to preserve it. Good food and clear preservation. By now, perhaps I can tell you, by now we are the leading premium organic retail brand in Germany, Switzerland, Austria, some other places. We also perhaps the leading craft brand in hospitality internationally as a chocolate maker. There are 2 or 3 very big companies that we compete with, but we do so successfully. And it's the leading foodies, you could say, including chefs like Marco Müller and Massimo Turra and Saladin Rocca and Jamie Oliver, and there's a long list of people that we love to work with and that love to work with us. And this is what our impact is about. I'll give you a bit into the tropical forest item, which I said is probably not core of hospitality, but it's certainly important for us, and hospitality has an impact on it. So if I go back from, let me show you. So we don't go back because it's on. We go forward to show you the rainforest. So here's one of our origins. And you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have traveled there to see. This is A, rainforest, and B, there's clouds, and this is climate making, and it's important, and it's very green. And this is one of our origins, where we essentially get the cacao for our milk chocolate from in the Esmeraldas in Ecuador. And what I want to show you here is the impact we can have, and that is possible for a lot of supply chains, certainly from tropical forests, but I would think also from a lot of agriculture closer by, is a climate balance, a positive climate balance from this place all the way to the final customer. And you can see in the dark violet color is the climate income from farming in these regions. Of course, in tropical systems, the climate income is higher, but then again, the soils are also thinner. So I'm not enough expert to compare it at this point, but you can see per unit of 70 gram, this is the climate income. And then in orange, you've got the cost of production, transportation, packaging, everything, total life cycle analysis, all the carbon costs. And so we come out with a positive climate balance, a negative CO2 balance. We are drawing down CO2 from the atmosphere through our consumption, which is a regenerative model. And it's this supply chain, and the power of agriculture and food is so clear. If we don't take the industrial approach,
Philipp is now again in the rainforest. We have to get him back. You can still get another coffee if you like, or maybe water, so you stay hydrated. And we're gonna be back soon. Thank you. And we're back again.
Yeah, we're back again. I'm sorry, there's a little technical hiccup, which of course shouldn't happen. Now, what I understand is that possibly we don't continue with the presentation, but essentially I can summarize it for you in the remaining time. So what I said was, and I'll repeat that because it's that's the one thing you can take away, perhaps. So what I said was, okay, 30% CO2 drawdown, and the key domains, look it up on drawdown.org, are refrigeration, green energy, reduced food waste, plant-rich diet, tropical forests. And I was going to tell you about, for the rest, about what we do in all these domains. In other words, in our business, we tick all these boxes and we look, what is our leverage? Where can we do something on those? Where can we make progress on those? Down to, for instance, refrigeration, which in our case in the warehouse can happen, or we have a heat cooling, heat recovery in our production facilities, or with water, which reduces the energy used by about 70% just for the cooling of the chocolate in our production. We go, of course, also through reduced food waste in our industry. That's not so important, but as Joanna was just mentioning, we have developed this waste-free packaging, which is part and parcel of educating us all about waste-freeness. So what I'm saying is, keep the priorities clear. I think the hospitality industry has them in the core of their businesses, and so we all can check those boxes. We can focus our work as we redefine, some of us, our business models, because they're currently in ashes. We can focus again on those 4 or 5 domains, again, refrigeration, green energy, reduced food waste, plant-rich diet, and tropical forests.
I think it's so great what you're doing. It's such a great best practice example. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And you can see that, we can all do it. It's like,
I think that's a good thing. If somebody does it, or one company, or I don't know, organization, then you can then you put it out in the world. Hey, this is possible. You all could do it.
Yeah, what we haven't done, you can check our website. We measure ourselves on what we call the footprint, the chocolate footprint, with a number of KPIs, and we measure the data. We have never done this on the drawdown priorities, which is kind of interesting, but it's more, that would probably be more something for a university collaboration or somebody who wants to dig into the data and draw them out. But I totally subscribe to the wisdom of drawdown and these, because if you look into these studies, the cost benefit is clear. And I think as a business, again, we haven't run the numbers, but we have been able to afford these changes. We are profitable, and at the same time we're doing it. Let's say an initiative like the waste-free foil, which we have just developed and launched, it costs about 30% more, and we've decided to absorb those costs, but we can still make that happen within our current business. And so I think that's possible, and that should also be scalable for many businesses. And then last but not least, which is probably what I started with, is, the climate crisis is a food crisis, is to a large extent a food system crisis. I had this slide with these fat people looking at the bright sun. This is really the world we live in. And so, of course, while we are focusing on climate, the last thing that in the hospitality industry we have is we can entice people to choose much better food.
Thank you so much, Philipp. If this was such an fast but inspirational and full-packed presentation and talk. For the audience, if you have more questions and want to interact with Philipp and also with Eddie Mukubi from before with land grabbing, it's gonna be a deep dive at 1:30 in a Jitsi format where you can ask questions and maybe Philipp will talk about with us a little bit more. Thank you so much.
Would love to. Thanks a lot, Joella. Ciao. Take care, you all.